Rosangela Garofalo Crispino a Mount Gambier e Tahlee Chant che si trova ad Adelaide per parlare di questo progetto che si chiama Alina Piccolina. Quindi buon pomeriggio. Hello to the two of you. We'll at least start in English and we'll see how we progress.
È meglio.
È meglio così, diciamo. Ok. Quindi,
meglio così Tahlee non si sente di fuori.
Ecco, esatto. So, as we said, Rosangela is in Mount Gambier, and Tahlee, where are you joining us from?
I'm actually joining from Adelaide today.
Okay, but originally, normally in Mount Gambier. So what is this project that we're talking about? Alina Piccolina. Maybe we'll ask Rosangela to start to give us some explanations.
Okay, so the project is basically based on the character Alina Piccolina, who is obviously based on my real life niece. And this has been a 14-year project because she had an obsession at 2 years of age with Dora la Explora. So I thought, come mai, why isn't there an Italian version? So I thought, right, I'm going to study this. And I noted that Dora was educational, engaging, and entertaining. I thought, okay, right, how can I make this different? So what I took on was looked back at my relationship with Alina and that sense of belonging and the isolation that I felt as a Calabrese starting at school. And I spoke Calabrese. I've got three languages, Calabrese, English, and Italiano. E ci devo pensare. Perché for me, the Italian, ci devo pensare un po' di sopra prima che parlo. I've got to think about it because a me mi butto più con lo calabrese che così mi sono cresciuta così, you know. And in fact, my uncle, my mum, who's still alive, 97, 98 in gennaio, si è aperto a wealth of knowledge. And I'm hoping, please God, che ci possa andare a vederlo. Because I've only got those coppie di zii left in my whole life. The rest have all gone. But he said, ma guarda sa guagliuna, che sta qua, come è stata cresciuta dentro a casa nostra. Vabbè, I did, you know, because mamma and papa and nanna e zia, tutti parlavano calabrese. And that's where I struggled a lot. And not only with my identity in the fact that I found it very conflicting and confusing, but they destroyed my name because they said that, you know, Rosangela was too hard to pronounce. So they called me Angela. So I grew up with all this conflict. And then that journey led me when Papa took us to Italy in 1976, and I met Nonna Caterina, and I met tutti zii, tutti cugini, and I thought, oh my gosh, they understand me, I understand them. So that was the initiation of my sense of belonging, and that, I guess, healing my identity crisis. And by that, I just felt that then I belonged. So that's, in a nutshell, the actual foundation, I think, of this piccolo progetto.
Well, it's interesting. You're bringing out some concepts that I'm hearing fairly regularly from people of, you know, Australians of Italian background who say maybe when they go to their parents' village or they cross the border, I felt at home, there was belonging. They meet the cousins who they look identical to them, people that I've never seen before. So there's all these elements of belonging. And we've had this conversation also with Anthony Albanese, who really had no presence, Italian presence in his life as a young lad. But then when he discovered his father was Italian and still alive, he sought him out, and he's met his family several times. So we can come back to that concept a bit later, actually.
Absolutely.
So now, Tahlee, so Rosangela said this project's been going for 14 years. Have you been part of this for 14 years? What's your participation in this project?
Well, I'm only 23, so unfortunately I didn't have the opportunity to meet Rosie earlier, but I've been on the journey for probably over 4 years. We met by pure chance. A friend of mine actually recommended me as an illustrator to Rosie. She had a look at some work that I've just been doing with a diploma I was doing with illustrating and graphic design, and she loved it. And it's such a beautiful book to be illustrating and really portraying the characters. I feel very blessed to be on this journey with her. I couldn't be any happier.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your illustration background. Have you been doing books before, children books?
No. So like at the moment I've been doing a lot of custom work. Like I draw dogs and I draw people and families, but a children's book it's something I've always wanted to do. I did do a cover for like as a project for my course, but nothing to this extent. This is something that really was a blessing. It's the biggest thing I've been working on at the moment.
Okay, and I've posted the photo of the launch of the book. But tell me, so explain to us, how does an illustrator deal with this sort of thing? You're the artistic person. I'm not so artistic. How do you come to it and deal with what Rosangela has done?
It's a lot of back and forth. Rosie's been very kind to me by giving me some beautiful stick figures, drawings. These stick drawings. And so I draw what I see. And with communication's a beautiful part too, because we're such good friends. She's kind of told me a bit about her culture and what she sees. And my hope is through my illustrations, I can then portray that. So look, there's been a few times where I may have drawn a mushroom and it was a salt shaker, but we've gotten to a point where it was just, I really feel like we were one, and we got these illustrations exactly how we wanted it.
Okay, excellent. So we can come back to maybe some of those elements. Allora, Rosangela, so you found, how did you come across Tahlee? Have we lost Rosangela? I'm not seeing her on my screen.
She froze a little bit there.
I think we've lost Rosangela. Okay, cool. Let's stick with Tahlee a bit more. So looking at the image for the launch, I see
Yes.
something that looks like a Vespa. Tell us about the elements in that and how they matter.
Yeah, so we have 4 main characters. The Vespa is actually Veronica Vespa.
Veronica Vespa, okay.
Veronica Vespa, yes. So she actually takes them on the adventure. She is powered by love. So it starts in Mount Gambier, and then with the power of love, they actually go to Italy. So Maxi Gatto is actually the cat.
Okay, just a second. Hang on, just a second. So we've got a Vespa Veronica takes Alina Piccolina.
Alina,
From Mount Gambier to Italy.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, there's probably a bit of magic there. We'll let that happen. And you said there's Maxi
Gatto.
Maxi Gatto. Okay. Yes. I think Rosangela is coming back. Yes. Allora, so Maxi Gatto, which is a cat.
Which is a cat, yeah.
And I guess we're already seeing there's a bit of English, a bit of Italian coming in, some words here and there. So Rosangela, we've discovered you've got a Vespa Veronica that takes us from Mount Gambier to Italy, magically. And Tahlee has talked about a gatto, Maxi Gatto.
Yeah.
So we're asking how she's illustrating the book launch and these characters. So there's 2 characters so far, and I guess did you say Alina Piccolina is?
Well, she's the protagonist.
Okay.
Yes. She was called Alina Piccolina because she was the smallest in the class.
So now we've gone back to real life. So Alina is your niece, you said earlier.
The character Alina Piccolina is based on my niece. Yes, absolutely.
And why is she called Piccolina? You said, but she was the shortest.
She was the tiniest,
yes.
And she still is. Ancora la più piccola.
Okay. So Vespa, Gatto, Alina, and there was a 4th one then.
Zietta.
And that's you, Zietta. Yes.
That's me.
Okay, so how do these 4 characters interact in the story?
Okay, well, basically, Alina spent a lot of time growing up here at our house, and Maxi Gatto was our real cat. So it's funny because Maxi, like I would encourage Alina to come and pick, and he actually picked her. And I've got photos of the day that we picked him up, and so I'm hoping, you know, when I can start getting some systems there, you know, un po' di sistema, a little bit of ordine, I can start posting some of those real life moments that are reflective of what those characters and who we're based on. So I think that there's a lot of interest in that, and that was reflected when we went to Tennyson Woods College and we actually read the books. And Tahlee did a fantastic presentation on her drawing. And the children, I could not believe, in one of the pages, there's a kitchen scene. And obviously, Alina said, well, obviously, in the book, Alina wants gnocchi, you know.
Yes.
And so she turned, she says, Ma Zieta, why don't you ever use a recipe? Ma Ali, we're Italians, we don't have recipes. Because I said, your bisnonna Rosina taught me how to make them, and she showed me. And that's how we learned. And she said, what's a bisnonna? So that's how we opened that up. E così, see, that's how everything's laid out. So that's how we start the story and go from there. So they're based on real people, real places, and real stories, which is the most distinct and most unique part of this project, because and its point of difference being, say, for example, to Dora, because that's a fictitious character. And as I said, whilst it educates, engages, and entertains, Alina Piccolina is different because she's based on real people, real places, and real stories, which I believe intrinsically gives you that ability to create your sense of belonging.
Adelaide, ora torniamo a parlare con Rosangela e Tahlee. So we've had these 4 characters in the book based on real life characters. Alina, Maxigatto, Vespa, Veronica, and Zieta. So let's go back to the story in the book. We go from Mount Gambier to Italy. Anywhere in particular in Italy?
Well, in this particular one, because we're highlighting, so basically the concept and the layout and the formula for each of the books will be highlighting someone. Obviously, in this case, it'll be Bisnonna Rosina and Bisnonno Rosario. We magically appear at the top of Mount Gambier, and something that Alina and I shared all the time, and I used to say to her, how much does Zieta love you? All the world, all the stars, the sun, and the moon. So we fuel her up with each press of the Veronica Vespa's pedal. So we're up on top of Centenary Tower, and so she'll repeat it. So tutto il mondo, tutte le stelle, and la luna. So we fuel her up with love. We take off of Mount Gambier. We fly over the Sugarloaf, over the Blue Lake, and then we land. In this case, we first land in Cigliano, Provincia Cosenza, in Calabria, where Nonna Rosina was born. So then we go around and we discover the different places. And because in that conversation in the kitchen, I say to, you know, Bisnonna Rosina, when I was younger, I actually went to Cigliano where Bisnonna was born, and I met Zio Pedro. Ma avevano certe figo. You know, Zio Pedro's, you know, was so delicious. And I said, I'd love to go back. She goes, oh, I'd love to go there. I said, so should we wake up, vroom, vroom, Veronica Vespa? So I whistle, she comes, and then we take off. And while we're there, we discover there's different landmarks and traditions and history and all that sort of stuff. And so we go there. There's a Ponte di Sant'Angelo, which has got 2 names, Annibale and Sant'Angelo. So we explain the story and why they have 2 names. Then we take off and we go to a place called Carpanzano, where there's the Madonna della Grazia. And that's Nannuzzo's town. And it's quite interesting. And I love to link information, and it's just fantastic. In fact, when it's explained to us why it's called Carpanzano, Alina says, that's incredibile, that's incredible, because Carpanzano happens to be the Hebrew word for steaming mountain. Oh. And the reason why, it's because it's actually built on the crater of a volcano. So Alina says, that's incredible. That's just like us here in Mount Gambier. We're built on on the slope of a volcano. And so she goes, it's incredible. So it's just beautiful how everything's just come together. And it's quite fascinating. But Chilian was very interesting too, because the Ponte di Hannibal, that's the name. Bit of a story. My cousin and I here, Anna, we've always loved elephants. Now, the story and the legend is that, Hannibal was coming over and conquering and pillaging. And allegedly, that bridge is very, very, very important, allegedly, as urban myth may or may not have it, that he passed through with his entourage. He's been known for his elephants, il elefanti. So then we go to learn that obviously he was a military general. He had like thousands in his whatever you call it, group or party or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
They loved it that much. There was 1,000 so men that decided to stay there, and they're from Carthage, North Africa. And I was talking to my cousin Anna about it, and I said, hey, Anna, you know how Nana always used to hate having, like, people pay thousands of dollars to have a tan, and you know how historically and people, back in the day it was taboo because the darker your skin, the poorer you were. Well, Nana, and I said, hey, maybe perhaps Nana was a descendant of one of these Carthaginians why do we love elephants? And we're just like, we go, well, maybe that's a fact, So it's like there's a story within a story, Antonio within a story, and you could talk about it forever,
Okay, Tahlee, so I can understand how you got enveloped into this project.
Lock in. Got a story.
So Tahlee, Rosangela just said that you presented something at a school. She's saying Tennyson, and that was very interesting. What happened there?
Yeah, well, we had actually a book reading. So we brought it with us. Before the launch, they got a special book reading from us. Rosie, she's a great storyteller. So she actually presented it to the kids, and they were so intrigued. They asked so many questions. It was really nice to see. We had so many students attend. It was crazy. And then afterwards, they're also learning about art and illustrating. So I've shown them a few of my what my work was and used to look like to now. The dogs and the people I would draw and the animals, and then I would go to the sketches that Rosie would present me to what they look like now in the book. And it's just really fascinating to see how many small storytellers and small illustrators and artists. The kids were so intrigued, and they it's really nice to see like another generation wanting to do something similar, especially with such an amazing opportunity I've received with Rosie, that it's definitely an opportunity that they could have themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So you've done the reading. This is a book, a physical book that you hold. Is it online? How is it?
Yeah, it's a physical book. We actually had our launch yesterday at the City Hall in Mount Gambier. We actually sold quite a lot of copies, but yeah, they're available to purchase. There is a website as well, www.alinapiccolina.com. So yeah, look, it's an amazing book, and so far it's been really well. I think we've had a lot of positive feedback on it.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, I'll take note of the time. Just got to notice the meeting might end soon, but we it's a few more, quite a lot of interesting points to make. So is it written in English or Italian? Do I see?
It's like Dora. So we've got English with certain words in Italian. Those are bolded. So we'll have, say, for example, bisnonna, and then we'll have dash grandmother or great-grandmother. So that's concurrent throughout the whole book. And then at the back, we've got a little bit of a Pictionary. So the pictures and the illustrations that run through the book are collectively concentrated at the end. So it's encouraged through while we read it for the pronunciation. And that's been such a joy to hear back that, the children, when it's being read to them, that they pronounce the words in Italian, which is just wonderful in terms of the educational point.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a story, there's a bit of magic, there's wonder, there's travel, there's bilingualism at least, and it's anchored in real life, real experiences. So I'm guessing that the students, the children, would also associate with that. Okay, cool.
And they did, Antonio. It's incredible, because at the end of it, basically at the end of every book, we want, and they were actually Alina's words, because when I did the Envies course through Flinders, we were asked for a 3-word branding. And I said, Alina, I need 3 words. Give them to me now. She goes, the adventure awaits. I said, nah, good, but nah. How about your adventure awaits? So it's all about that inquisition. Like you can go out and discover, so she will ask, like, so do you know where your biznonna comes from? Ask your zieta. Remember, your adventure awaits. So you are always welcome to come along on our adventure, but discover where you're from, and then you can get your sense of belonging.
Brilliant. That's encouraging conversations across generations. I think you said, did you say something about other books or something like that?
Yes. Like I've got one in the next one. We've got about 13 already on the go. So the next one is based on Bisnonna Caterina and Bisnonno Michele, which is mum's side, and the recipe in that book is the tagliarini, because that was my favourite recipe. Tagliarini.
Okay.
Yep, my mum. And then the story will go, and then we'll explain that, I'll say to Alina, nonna è una esperta. She's an expert, because when she was that piccolina, she was like you, piccolina. She's been doing it for over 85 years. Zio Giulio Bonanima, he was the eldest brother. Tanta che era piccolina, my uncle had to make her a little step to roll out culuragano with the thin. And my mum, I was fascinated until I'd watch it. It was like mesmerizing. She would ten un piccolo pezzo di pasta così, l'ha fatta quanto il tavolo, and she'd let it air and dry. Rolled it up, and like one of those sous chefs from Japan. She'd get the cortello, and they're all on foil, and then she'd put it there to dry. And I said, Ma, tu devi stare bene, because Tahlee's got to come and see you in action.
Okay, and where does this adventure take us to?
Well, Nonna Caterina was from Rogliano in Provincia Cosenza in Calabria. And then Nonno Michele was from I Marzi, which is also in, but the theme is that ongoing thing. So I've got in play Zio Gino Zannoni. He was knighted, actually, by the Italian consulate for his service. Yes, so, then we'll talk about, the knights and un cavaliere, and then, so Alina will have this vision that he's, coming in on his team, so not that kind of. So we explain that little story, and then Zio Gino's daughter actually taught Alina and Sam at Tennyson, so everything's tied in together, which is a joy. Then I've also got in play as well with so sorry, his origins are from Bassano del Grappa, Veneto.
Yes.
And then we're going to do one from, I don't know if you've heard of De Giorgio family once. There's a bit of a plug there. Well, I worked for, and they've become very good friends, and they were my clients when I was working at the radio station. So we've known each other over 20 years. And Anna and Papa.
So you're doing radio. You're doing radio in Mount Gambier, Italian radio.
I did, yes. I started radio back when in 1982, so it's 40 years this year, when we started our the first ever community FM radio station back in 1982. And then Papa, he actually created the first Italian radio program. So Papa, he loved it. And this is where the association comes in with Alessandra Corbino from Melbourne, who is our first distributor from Ciao Italia Bookshop. And I met her many years ago in Mondo Music on Lygon Street, because I'd go and get discs, like CDs back then, and sometimes even albums and books for Papa's program content. And I reckon he wanted a specific from Lucio Dalla and one from Gelatano, and he had his taste because he loved radio. In fact, I've actually got from 1950, 55, 56, the actual program. I was going to frame it for Papa, of Rai International, with all of the radio bits of band of all the different regions in the world.
Excellent.
Yeah, so she would send the stuff if they didn't have it in stock, and that was it.
So you've got the book, the physical book, but Tahlee mentioned the website. So do you have an online or digital content? Is there any audio? Does anyone any readings of the book?
Not at the moment, because this is all just, Antonio, I'm just so overwhelmed by everything. We haven't had time. We were lucky that we actually got all of the PayPal and all of that stuff, because the inquiry's been coming in, and it's all happened so quickly.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very important.
That's the vision.
But I saw something about a song. Who's that?
Oh yes. Now there's an interesting story, because this song I actually sang to Alina since she was a baby, and I'm a lyricist and a singer. Obviously don't write music, so what, again, connections within connections within connections. Now my piano needed tuning one day, and I thought, all right, so I went to the music shop, and they said, they slipped me this name of this guy called Bo Mansa. And I thought, because back in 1999, I submitted my last international contest. It was a competition for Billboard International submission. And I was a little bit reluctant to ask, but I said, like, if you're, I said, are you any relation to Brenton Mansa? And he said, yeah, that was my dad. He said, why? I said, wait there. Came upstairs and gave him a copy, I said, of that song. It was called Love is a Stranger. And I handed it to him. I said, this is for you, because your dad played on this for me. So, it was just beautiful. So then, again, like I'd been singing this song, I just sang it, senza musica, nothing. He wrote the score. I gave him a little bit of an idea of how the tune, would sound in terms of instruments, because I had a little xylophone as a child with little gli animali di sopra, tinky, tinky, tink, and I had a baby grand piano. I said, that's what I can hear. That's what I can hear. He fit it to the T. He had his 2 children sing it, and we closed the presentation last night with it. So...
Okay, so now I have a file. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll try to play it and we'll see what happens, because I haven't managed to download it. Let's have a try.
Alina Piccolina.